This School of Worship Fellowship, Thursday. Thursday means we discuss the top stories of the week. Stories making headlines around Uganda, East Africa, Africa, and the world at large. This week has been quite uneventful, if you ask me. Not much in terms of news, at least in terms of what we can discuss here. But either way, we still have some topics. I think one of the bigger ones today was the release of the UCE results. UCE is O-level, what we call O-level in Uganda. There's usually excitement around the release of exam results. So we had that this morning by the Ministry of Education. The traditional schools seem to have performed well this time around, unlike primary leaving exams. This time, the Budos, the Gayazas, I've seen a few of the results and they're looking really good. By good, of course, in context, I mean that kind of performance. Yeah, so that has made some headlines today. And then the other headline I saw this morning was in the Monitor. 85 trillion shillings locked up in the commercial court. Now the commercial court is where, of course, the business disputes are resolved between either private parties, between government and private parties, and so on and so forth. So the Monitor did an audit and established that 85 trillion is locked up in those cases. That is quite an amount of money. That is almost 2 financial years of Uganda's economy locked up in court cases. Of course, this includes HAM versus DTB. It includes URA versus, a million other companies and so on and so forth, as well as private individuals. So this is quite an economy to be locked up. Pending judgments. I don't know why the Constitutional Court operates the way it does, but well, I know there's a backlog there. So we're going to discuss, how did this even happen? Okay, and then yesterday, the Minister of Internal Affairs, the state minister, that is David Muhoozi, in Parliament, said they're not going to charge us for renewing our national IDs. Initially, everyone was supposed to pay 50,000 to renew their national ID. And of course, there was an outcry from the public and from the Parliament, and then government said, no, we're going to fund it, it's okay. Only those who will have lost their national IDs will be forced to pay. The rest of you will get them for free. But of course, there's a time problem. Remember, we have an election coming up in less than 2 years, I think. National IDs are used to update the national register. That's by the Electoral Commission. So there's a time problem. According to the roadmap of elections in 2026, Electoral Commission is already behind on this one. By now, they should have started updating the voters' registers and, displaying them and things like that. Yeah, so we're going to discuss that. And then something which did not happen this week, but I had kept it for a time when we probably had a low week like we did. This one happened about a month ago. Justice Ssekana, in one of the courts in Uganda, reaffirmed the landlord's right to break into permanently locked premises over unpaid rent. There's a new law to do with tenants and landlords and things like that, among which includes notifying the guy when you're going to increase rent, giving over 6 months notice and things like that. But this time, in one of the arcades, one of the landlords actually broke into a tenant's premises after it had been locked for a long time. And then the tenant ran to court, but the court agreed with the landlord. So we'll discuss the implications of that, because you cannot keep your premises locked while you're not remitting rent. What is the landlord supposed to do? Okay. And then we'll also discuss Bobi Wine and Mpuuga. There's been quite a fight going on, especially in the Masaka area. Principal is fighting with Mpuuga. That's why he actually removed him from the leader of opposition post, as well as, the other changes he made. So we'll discuss that, but also FDC this week, actually today, declared their candidate for Dokolo. Remember Cecilia Ogwal's, the late position, woman MP of Dokolo? Cecilia Ogwal's daughter has been endorsed by FDC stand in place of Halit Mom. And then the same people accuse Muzei of bringing his son, you know, the hypocrisy. And it happens everywhere, even in opposition, UPC and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's the lineup. And then if time allows, we shall, under our social topic, we'll discuss whether the only requirement you need to have children is money. It is something that is fronted. Oh, Havana, children are expensive, kids are expensive. If you don't have money, you don't have kids, and so on and so forth. Is that the only requirement to have children? Or should that be the foremost requirement before you have children? So anyway, that's how we're going to do it. Petson, just help us from the economic point of view, how 85 trillion can be locked up in the courts of law, and that's 2 financial years of our budget, and the country doesn't collapse. What's happening there?
Thank you. The court cases, okay, that 85 trillion that was written in today's monitor, it's usually these commercial cases. For example, you've given an example of the case of harm. You've given the disputes between they're called contract disputes. Those are where a contract was defaulted. You're supposed to supply this, then you didn't supply it. It has things to do with these land issues. It's just that mix of such cases which are being held up in court in court. But one thing maybe now we need to get from this is so that the 85 trillion that you're seeing there is hard cash, because you see our news reporting is sensational, that when they put that, now you'd think that 85 trillion is somewhere kept, and our inefficiency in the court system is denying us the 85 trillion. No way. That's not how it is. These are cases, for example, where you find that I have an issue with you, Jet. I sold you my things and you've not paid. And what is the value of the case? I'm saying I'm demanding you 200 million. So that 200 million is recorded. Isaiah has a case with Peter. He sold him his car, and probably the car has issues, and Peter reports to court, and then he says you're going to pay me maybe 100 million for damages. So when you add all that, it's what comes to 85 trillion. But anyway, that put aside, I'm not looking at it in terms of finances, because really this is not tangible money. After all, even if it was hard cash, there are two parties that are against each other in court. So that 85, it's one party. Probably Isaiah has it, and if court rules, Isaiah is going to give it to Jethero. So there is no money that is going to come again in the economy per se. You get? There's a party that is saying, I demand you. There's this party is saying that I don't demand you. So some of the money is still in the economy, but waiting to change hands. It's just getting money from one pocket and putting it to another pocket. So the net effect may not be so much significant. But the issue is on the inefficiency in our court system. That is where the biggest problem is. How do you accumulate all these cases, where you have some cases that are even 10 years, 15 years before even being disposed of, and that is where the judiciary should actually put their focus on, because this is something that the former Chief Justice had started working on, where he introduced that there's a system they did. I don't know if you guys, the some MIS for cases. He had started it, but then I don't know how it is working now. Then also recently, like the case of the LGBT, there's an innovation where judges can actually do, you go and do things on email. You don't need to come. So probably if some of these things can be brought in, then it will reduce this case backlog, because this 85 trillion is just showing the inefficiency of the judicial system. That's what I can say. But for the side of the finances, I don't think really that even if all the cases are disposed of, Uganda is going to become rich. No, I don't think. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ped. Now, Uganda may not become rich necessarily, but look at a case where URA is against the gold dealers. Gold is one of the biggest exports from Uganda. I think last year they even surpassed coffee. And then these guys didn't pay taxes. So that money is locked in that system, like you've said. And in as much as it's not locked there in cash, you know that movement of money is what creates value. If money moves from me to you by exchanging certain value, then we've created value in the economy. That's how the economy works. So in as much as it may not be physical cash, but the fact that it just keeps moving like that actually helps the economy. That's what I can say. But then on the issue of inefficiency, I think I agree with you. There's a court management system they brought where they can even try suspects either remotely. Remember, especially during COVID, I think that's when it was introduced. Remember, even the Segrinyas at some point appeared via Zoom. So that system is there, but I think by design, the judiciary is not meant to be efficient. I think it's by design and it's intentional. That is just my feeling. These guys don't want to dispose of cases very fast. They hide under all sorts of legalities, which is really what the law is about. The law is about gymnastics, who can flip the most, who can somersault the most and things like that. So, yeah, the inefficiency, I agree. Actually, today I read of another case where one of the Kabaka's brothers had sued him, or should I say cousin, had sued him for 2 trillion, a case worth 2 trillion shillings. The estate of the late Chua, Sekabaka Chua. The guy is a grandson, and he claims it was wrongly put under the Kabaka's stewardship and things like that. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So for me, I think once these cases are disposed of, money moves in a certain direction. Remember, they are resolving disputes. If they say you should have paid this tax, money will move in a certain direction. That is value created.
Hey, by
if
the
I sued
way,
you for selling me fake land, then I'll get my money back. So yes, paid.
Yeah, actually, there's something that I think Katchup had actually started promoting so much. The issue of settling things out of court. I'm going to get the technical name in as we go on. For example, if I have a dispute with you,
what do they call it? Arbitration.
Arbitration, yes. If I have a problem with you, instead of taking you to court, there are these arbitrators who are even cheaper. So I can go and I report you twice. I'm like, by the way, I have a problem with the jet here. Then he reads through the issues and then he can advise. He's like, by the way, the issue is that you're wrong and this guy is right. So it's a quicker way of disposing of what? It's a quicker way even of disposing of cases. I think Katchup had actually tried to promote it. Like unlike we don't have a lawyer here, a technical person to do that. But those are some of the things I think he was trying to promote, because some of these cases are just baby cases that can actually even be disposed of with a friend. You just go to your friend and you discuss issues and then things are disposed of, but then they drag in a court for 10 years, 5 years, you're just in court dancing around and lawyers are eating your money.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the things we take to court can really be solved by third parties. Peter, can you talk?
Yes, I've finally maneuvered the jam. I have finally maneuvered the jam. I'm here. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Peter.
We're discussing the 85 trillion held up in the court system. We've been following our discussion.
I mean, so one wonders, was that literal or it was a in media reporting there is what you call framing. Framing is a method of presenting an event that is newsful. The newsful way of presenting an event. So one wonders whether it was literal or it was just a framing gimmick. Okay, but if it is in courts, if it was just figurative, to mean that there are a lot of cases that have costs, then one wonders. But I think what Mr. Asimo has just submitted would be good, only that it would render lawyers, it would render them, I don't think that it would render them unemployed. If we were to settle cases out of court, which is reasonable, by the way, isn't it a threat to the legal profession or to the law profession? That would be my worry. Otherwise, it is no news. It is no
Peter,
news.
which is okay. Which is okay, even if they go jobless.
Because a fortnight, hardly 2 weeks ago, we had some news about some official whose 2 billions were stolen from his house. So what is happening with banks? What's really happening with banks? So I probably would try to compare that it is no longer news that people's big sums of money are stashed in their houses. Now, that amount of money, 85 trillion, is stashed in court cases, unresolved cases. Probably there would be just like we have what people call informal education. I think we need also informal jurisprudence. Yeah, that's the term. I think we shall also need informal jurisprudence, where informal means our traditional indigenous way of resolving conflict that might not need court costs, but it would need reasonableness and amicable resolution of conflicts. I submit.
Thank you, Peter. Isaiah? Isaiah Chatambula. Okay, let's go to the next topic. The next one is about the national IDs. Peter, why did the government make a U-turn not to charge us for national ID renewal? Like we do for passports, like we do for driving permits. So why are they charging us? Who's going to bear that cost?
I think it was you see, the time when we got the IDs, we got them for free. Not so.
Yes, I remember we got them for free.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, they were free. They were free, I remember.
Very good. Now, right now, as we speak, we got our IDs 10 years ago. But in these 10 years, ideally, each and everything now rotates around you having a national ID. The synchronizing of the databases and all that. So I am not sure of the NIRA statistics, but I think we should be like over 85% of people that have national IDs. Now, if you put 50,000 on renewing a national ID, it means that the government was going to lock out so many people that are not going to renew their national IDs. And I can tell you this, even people who afford the 50K of, even people who would afford the 50,000, there are very few people who would be willing to pay for that money, for their IDs to be renewed. And that means that you would find that there are so many people that without national IDs, and because we have said that most of our things now are locked to us having national IDs, having a telephone contact, having having a telephone line, means that you'll be locking out so many people because of 50,000. So initially, I don't know where the 50,000 idea came from, because it was really not a good idea. And
government didn't have money to put the process.
Yeah, but
it is late by 2 years actually. The process.
But Jet, if you have your data, if you have the person's data, and they're going to do census, how come they're not charging us for census? So I think that excuse of saying that they don't have the money to carry out the exercise is a weak one, because the exercise, the money can always look for money to get do the exercise, but the outrageous cost of 50,000 on a national ID on an average Ugandan was quite high. The 50,000 that you see is so that everyone can afford. In fact, if we're 85% of people who have national IDs on renewal by paying 50,000, you'd find that half of that percentage were people who are going to afford to renew who are going to afford to be able to renew the national IDs. So me, that's what I would think.
I agree with you on the costs. I think 50K was too much for the average Ugandan, especially for a document as essential as a national ID. You see, the driving permit is too much luxury, as in you don't have to have it. A passport, same thing. You don't have to leave Uganda.
Exactly.
Unless you must. But the national ID, you can't even have a SIM card. You can't open a bank account. There's nowhere you can go now where they don't ask for national ID. Any other form of identification is actually not allowed. Even a passport, you can't take it to a bank to open a bank account. So I agree with you on the cost. I think government should be giving things for free.
And by the way, also remember say that those who don't have the 50,000 go and hang. You need them to vote for you. So you see, you're between a hard place and a rock. You want these masses. Remember, the guys who vote are the guys who cannot afford the 50,000. The Jethros who can afford the 50,000 will have their national ID, but they will not go to line up to vote for you.
They will stay on Twitter on election day. To tweet about election.
To tweet, yes. So you see, so you have to balance a win-win, and I think they calculated it and found out that really it was no need of putting that money when it's actually not needed, when it's actually not necessary. After all, you gave them the IDs for free. Now, why do you want to charge them after 10 years?
Yeah, makes sense. And of course, there are about, I think, 15 million IDs to be renewed. But then there's another almost 18 million people who are getting for the first time. Now, those I'm sure are the voters, guys who have hit 18 years. 10 years ago, they were probably students. Now they are voters, they are 18. So you need them. And most likely they can't afford that 50K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Peter, of course, with national IDs, besides the cost, there's the issue of, what should I call it, nationality. So many people have been locked out. We've heard stories of especially the Banyarwanda who say when we go to whatever they chase us away, Ugandans were born here, our parents were raised here, rather they grew up here, but we can't get national ID. Peter, do you want to speak to that? The issue of nationality?
My question, Mr. Moderator, thank you very much. My question would be, in the first place, why renew national IDs? I am an employee of Chambogo University. and my year of retirement is 2044. That is my record year of retirement. But my Chambog University ID is indefinite. It has no date of expiry. But it is ironical that my national identity card has an expiry date. Why on earth would a national identity card be renewable? To me, it would be giving out new cards, not renewing cards or renewing identity cards. You know, I mean, and why on earth would there be renewal? And why would somebody design a national identity card that expires in a decade? What, I mean, if a lease, maybe a lawyer would tell us, when does a land lease expire? Isn't it 99 years?
It's 99.
Different periods. There's 99, there's 49, there are different periods.
Yeah. Now, a lease expires in 99 years, but a government identity card expires in a decade? Maybe somebody will address that. I submit.
I can submit, and then somebody else will supplement, probably. And the first obvious reason is making money, like we've been discussing. Imagine 15 million Ugandans plus another 18 million coming on board times 50,000. That is a good payday for somebody. So that's the obvious reason. But the other one, from the technology side, is just like driving permits. I don't know if you've seen the new driving permits, the new passports. Technology changes frequently. So there's always a need to update even your ATM card. I think it's typically 3 years, maybe 4 years. So technology changes. It's always good to keep up with the latest technology. That's the other reason I could give. The third one is what you looked like 10 years ago, Peter, is not what you look like today. You've obviously changed in some ways. So they need to capture the latest likeness of Peter, which is why they would force you to come back and take a fresh picture. The fourth one is, if they do it right, by the way, is to sort of, because so many people in the beginning got national IDs, including Congolese and Nigerians and not. So this time round, it could actually be a good way to sieve out some of those people who got them erroneously. But like I've said, if they only do it right, which I highly suspect they will not. So for me, that would be my reasons. I don't know if Edson wants to add on before I bring in Bob.
No, that's my point was the last one, the data cleaning. The data cleaning, yeah. So, but I don't think that should be done at a mass or a national-wide level. Why don't they do it? Why can they do that progressively with time? If, for example, my biggest issue is on residence, because right now we still have an issue of residence. The time where there are very few Ugandans who have permanent residences. Apart from the people in villages, people who are staying in urban, apart from people who are staying in rural setup, they have permanent residences. But people who are staying in urban areas, you find that maybe 10% or even lower than that are the people that have permanent residencies. So the national ID database should be updated for such things. When you change residence, then you should be able to update your residence. And this should not be really that you have to go to NIRA to do this for you. There should be an option where you can go on the website of NIRA, you put in your NIN, then probably you take a picture, you update your new photo, you update your new residence, you update your new whatever that you want to update. And it should not be that they have to ask and do it massively for the whole country. I don't know how possible that is yet with technology.
No, it's possible. Actually, the other problem with NIRA is they've not decentralized enough. Everyone has to go to Kololo and line up from 4 a.m. And, okay, lately they've tried to open regional offices, but I still feel those are not enough. Decentralization would help. Why shouldn't someone go to their district headquarters, for example? Or maybe their sub-county headquarters, just to do these things. Why does someone have to come to Kampala and these other places? But yes, I agree with you. It's not something that should be done en masse. Otherwise, it's going to lead to more chaos, like the last time. It should be done progressively and properly. But I said there's no willingness to do it. That is my biggest problem. Bob, welcome. Do you want to talk about national ID renewal? Can you talk first of all?
Yeah, I can talk.
Okay, shoot.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you've said it all. The reasons of need to update are there. Again, I'll give an example of the system I'm in right now. The thing that does not change usually on your record, for example, is there's what they call the social security number. They give you that number once. Whether you are a foreigner or you are US citizens, that is your identifying number. So that remains constant. They give you a card, and that card is for life. Now, when it comes to IDs, the state or the government requires a photo ID. Okay. Now, what is funny is that because of the how federalism, the independence of the different states. Even if I had just got, for example, here, we usually use the driving permit. It has my picture, it has my details. So even if I just got a driving permit from Georgia, where I am now, and I move or migrate to another state, let's say Washington, Massachusetts or Boston or Washington, they give you between 3 to 6 months to change your driving permit to the state of the new state where you have been. And what this means is that you walk in the driving whatever control office, and you put in your old license, and they print for you a new one. Of course, with an updated ID, with an updated photo of yours, which is now reflects what you look like, and the state knows that now this is your picture ID of the new state. So the issue of updating identifications within, because people's faces, features change, maybe after every 10 years, it's for me it's okay. And it also helps you clean up the data. Some people die, some people are not documented, some people migrate to other places. So it helps you update your data system also as a country. The important thing that was mentioned also, I think by I don't know if it's been Pedison or it's been Jeffro, the issue of centralizing, making sure that different districts in Uganda or sub-counties are able to provide the same services to make it easier for people to register for this for the upgrades. I don't need to go to Kampala. I don't need to go the taxi and go so much distance. The same thing here within your state. They are what we call counties. Like this Georgia state has like maybe say 5 or 6 counties. Now they make sure that each county has at least 3 stations where people can go and drive, 5-10 minutes from their homes, and they update these IDs. So for me, that is it is okay to update these documents, but the issue is make it convenient for people to do so. Okay. The issue of cost, I don't believe in a lot of free things all the time, because everything comes with a particular cost. They just need to make the cost affordable, not so expensive for everyone, because the government has already a lot of debt it's dealing with. You don't, if it says we are printing new IDs for over 30 million people, that is a huge cost. Okay. Yet if they say, okay, for you to update your ID, and you also absorb part of the cost. So the government's cost comes down. Here we have to pay for everything. you updating an ID, you have an old one, you're taking it back, at least they will charge you $5 or $6 for that cost. You have to absorb part of the cost. So the issue is to make it affordable, okay? Tinejjajja atakola, bw'ogamba nti kale, tugambe we will charge 2,000 or whatever. You make it affordable, make it easily, and then you can take on a case-by-case basis for the elderly. If you are a veteran, abazirwanako, they retire, those guys have very big discounts on all services. So when asasulira driving permit to $15, ye bayinza okumucharginga $5 because he's a veteran. So you make those exceptions for the poorest of the poor, the elderly in the community who cannot afford, who are no longer working. So this is the system I'm talking about. Just being organized, thinking about your community, and nochikwasaganyanga, it is able to save the government from overspending, but also it is affordable and affordable by the citizens. So for me, that is my comment.
Thank you, Bob. I think that's a good point you've made. Free things have their own problems. Isaiah, can you talk?
Gavumenti esolooza omusolo teteekwa kubaako na kintu kyekyaginga.
Lwaki?
Kubanga esolooza omusolo ate gavumenti.
Bw'eba tesolooza gumala.
Ekola ebijja mu ogwo bw'esolooza. Kati for instance, tekiteekwa kubeera kya tteeka nti bannansi bonna bateekwa okubeera ne national ID bw'oba tosobola kuzikola.
Tulina okuba na national ID bw'oba tosobola kuzikola?
Bw'oba tosobola zibakolera si tteeka nti buli munnansi ateekwa okuba ne national ID. Osooka n'okolako gwe z'osobola.
Isaiah, nsooke nkusalemu kukinnyawo katono.
N'olwekyo gavumenti eteekwa okukola ebintu ebijja mu busobozi bwayo. Nze ndowooza ddala nti bw'emu ku buzibu bw'ensi za Africa. Ensi za Africa zirimbibwa ensi z'abazungu nti tugenda kubawa aid mukole kino. Kakati aid eyo neetabeera consistent. Kati y'ensonga lwaki bajeti z'ensi eza Africa zifaananga bwe zifaanana. Nti bajeti yaffe ya trillion 50 naye tusolooza trillion 14. Trillion endala 36 tugenda kuzeewola. So basically that is the major problem. Tuuza nti gavumenti ziteekwa okutuula wansi zirabye zisobola. Wasobola okubaawo endagamuntu endala. Kubanga ekikulu si bannansi kubeera na ndagamuntu. Ekikulu bannansi kuba nga beemanyi.
Isaiah kyaliko oba nze mbuseeko? Mumuwulira?
Bampulira gwe obadde abuuseeko.
Nsoma tumufiiriddwa.
I was also not hearing you, Isaiah.
Hello?
I was not hearing you.
Okay, I'm back.
Can you hear me
Can you hear me
now? Yes.
Ekikulu bannansi kubanga national ID ekola ki? Ekola bingi. Yesaza layini ku masimu. Mu banka ogyetaaga. National ID nga tennaba kujja ensi yali etambula etya?
Nnyo yali etambula.
Kakati formulas ezo lwaki zonna twazisula omulundi gumu national ID bwe yajja? Mayumba 10 n'evaawo oba LC ne buvaawo, ebyalo Peterson byabadde ayogerako ebya address ne bivaawo. It's not just that akakantu aka national ID tukawadde amaanyi ge gatalina. We have just mystified it. Funandaga muntu bannabyabufuzi babikozesa kubanga baagala kubikozesa okubala obululu bwabwe, naye waliwo a bigger national issue. For instance, mu passport waliwo ebika bya passport. Ekyo kituufu ekyo? Wateekwa okubaawo ebika bya national ID. Nawe munnabyabufuzi bw'onooba ogenda mu bintu ebyakalulu, abalonda bateekwa okwawukana. Si buli muntu alina endagamuntu bwakkirizibwa okulonda. Ekyo nakyo kikyamu. So basically, national ID ne bwogamba muno ya nusu 100. Waliwo omuntu atalina nusu 100 nga lwakuteeka mu national ID.
I agree with you.
Taluyina.
He might be having it nayenga through a national ID.
Through a national ID. Omanyi lwaki through a national ID? Gavumenti teteekwa kubaako na bintu byetunda. Nze yagimenti yange okujjako nga tesolooza musolo. Naye kati bwe bayiko ebintu byetunda yebeera gavumenti. Omuntu yaleeta ekirowoozo ekyo kugamba mulabe wa gavumenti eno nnyo. Nyanza moderator.
Bob, waliwo olina kyoyagala okwogera Bob Alia? Simanyi bwe kyakijjukira. Tunava kwena ensonga.
But
Okay.
also n'ekirala, by the way, olaba Isaiah ayogedde n'agamba ntino someone who put 50,000 mulabe wa government. But also you people also need to think about the decision makers in this country. The decision makers in this country are so detached. They're so detached to reality. That's why you see someone can say 50,000 for a national ID, and he thinks that each person can afford. And it is so sad that our representation in parliament is not actually a representation, because I was the case was reversed in parliament yet. Hello?
Which one?
Was the 50,000 reversed in parliament?
Yeah, you talked about it in parliament yesterday.
Hey, okay, then that was good. That was good. Now, but I wanted to bring our decision makers do not make realistic decisions. Then also our representatives are not actually representing us. The MPs are not representing us. There are very few representative MPs in that house that you see.
Okay, Bob. Okay, Bob again. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is the Justice Ssekana's ruling about landlords getting the right to.
Network yange yembi oba mumpuli.
Awutukuwulira kati.
I had a quick comment. Nabadde njagala kugamba, I think Isaiah, the issue of if the government collects revenue, then things should be for free. I think it's the wrong concept. First of all, is the single government etwala inventory. How many people actually pay tax? Okay. Ojja kwesanga nga abantu bangi tebasasula musolo. Now, I thought back a few years ago where we had atanawa musolo nga alabye ennaku every man had to pay oba okola oba tokola buli emyaka gyedda mu either early 90s I think or late 80s. Every man, I think by then women were exempted. Every man had to pay tax. Omusolo ogwo baba kuyitanga batya. But you know what that caused is that people felt they needed to hold the country accountable, the government accountable. Omusolo gwe basasula. Era government yalinga ebeera kuninga naye kakati wano abantu, there are many people in villages, in towns, tebawa musolo. Now you start giving free things to such people, the sense of kind of holding the country, the government accountable disappears. Free things, and there's no way the government is going to provide services nga collecting a cent. So for me, I think everyone has to take a bite of the pie, you know. Well, I just wanted to comment on that issue of government will be collecting so it should provide free services to all. No, I think we have to revisit that. See, the fact is not everyone is collecting omusolo. A few workers, government workers, not even government workers, private bantu abakola mbitongole, and a few business people, the government be kunganya omusolo. And then the rest of the guys, you know, they just go scot-free. Now they expect the government to also provide for them. So that is something I wanted to just comment about.
Okay, thank you, Bob. The next one is about landlords being allowed to break into premises of our tenants if they've been closed for a long time, and of course there's been non-payment. Unpaid, what do you think? Like I said, this story is old. It's probably over a month old, but I kept it because I thought we'd discuss it in depth. What are the implications of such a ruling?
Now, me, I'm against capitalism, and in most cases, when two thieves are caught pants down, I really just stand and laugh. So, in this case, I will not have any commentary because the landlord is cheating tenants, and tenants also want to cheat landlords. So whoever emerges a winner in this game, it's okay. This is just a game of capitalism. You eat or you're not eaten. Period.
Okay. It's on what was got there. Peter?
Bannange. Yes, bannange. Okukiri enjija kanzije. Abakulu babadde bansazeeko. Badde gamba nti bannange awo tuba tugonjoola buzibu ki? Balandiroodi bajjethiro ne basiimu manyi mwe balandiroodi kuno. Oli abeera mu Amerika. Simanyi naye yafuuka landiroodi oli owa Amerika. Bassebo muba mukola ki bwe muyingira mu nnyumba zaffe ze tupangisiza nga tusibyewo ebbanga eddene ne mumenya? Kiki kye mugonjoola? Wangi? Tuba tuzannyidde kati wano mukulu wange Isaaya wano yasobola okunnyonnyola kubanga ensonga zino ez'abapangisa ab'eggume ate ab'eggume obutabotaba obwo n'oyiwa mu mazzi
Kasukeri nga tutula na mabega. Isaiah kayogere ku by'abapangisa asinga kutegera wano. Peter ali mu baby sit. Isaiah jangu so.
Gundi etteeka eryo liyambako ku landiroodi kubanga omupangisa asobola eriri ekkadde lyali ligamba nti omuntu kasita aggala ennyumba ye tosobola kugigula, bw'ogigula asobola okujja n'agamba mwe mwabaddemu miliyoni ze 6. Naye baatandika mpola mpola okubikyusa kati ng'osobola okujja ne LC n'owa security ne n'abakyala ne bamenya ennyumba. Ebintu bye baggyeemu ne babitwala ewa chairman. Mpaka omupangisa bw'alidda kati nga tasobola kugamba nti mwalimu zino kubanga abajulizi baali bawera. So ndowooza nti eryo etteeka kati libayisizza era nzikiriziganya nabo nti omupangisa tayinza kugala nnyumba yo takusasula ate n'agenda. Nze ndowooza enteeka terina buzibu okuggyako ebintu by'abalandlord n'abapangisa birimu obuzibu obulala bungi nga bw'okyogera. Balandlord bateekwa okumanya nti bizinensi y'okuzimbira abantu mwe basula oba bizinensi y'okusuza abantu nzibu nnyo ng'abantu bennyini b'ogenda okusuza. Kakati etteeka eryo nga bwe riri bwe rityo era etteeka bwe liteekwa okujja ligambe omupangisa asasula mwezi gw'asuzeemu oba asasula gw'agenda kusulamu, oyo y'asula. Ate omupangisa akola asasula mwezi gwakoleddewo oba omwezi gw'agenda okukolerawo, kuba abapangisa babiri ba njawulo. So tenants bill eyo sinaba kuddamu kugisoma gyetegereza bulungi, naye ndowooza nti obupangisa bulimu ebizibu bingi. But at the end of the day nze njagala kumunzika bwe nti moderator, amateeka tegakola ng'abantu tebakola.
Kiddemu ekyo.
Amateeka tegakola ng'abantu tebakoze. Okukola kw'amateeka kuli mu nkola z'abantu. Kati I do not care oba omulamuzi yasindise bakooti beyiriifu oba landlord yazze ne lawyer oba landlord yampadde ekipapula ky'amateeka biki. Enkolagana yange ne landlord egenda kuba esinga amateeka gano eventually. So ndowooza nti ekyo kikulu naye nze base
eyo layini nkulu.
Ekyo tugende
Siwadde opinion.
Wajibu.
Nze abantu mayinza njabba wange example engeri ebintu gye bikolamu eno. So just a quick one. So eno bw'oba ogenda okupangisa ennyumba, nabagambye buli muntu alina social security number gye bakuwa. Landlord akusaba social security number, kati bw'agiteeka mu system emulaga credit engeri credit system yo gye badde etambula. Nantiki nemulaga ne sente z'ofuna buli mwezi bw'oba ng'oli mukozi. So they use all this information to see if bakupangisa oba tebakupangisa. Bw'oba ogenda okupangisa ennyumba waliwo foomu gy'ofiiringa nga omuntu abadde akusuza oba landlord wo gy'ova yagisayiningako ekulaga eraga landlord omupya nti oyo avudde eno wange abadde musasuzi mulungi, avudde eno wange tetulina mbiranye, talina mpisa mbi. So ebintu by'abalandlord balina okusiivinga. I'm just giving example that landlord kimukakatako obutamala gasuza buli muntu gwasanze olw'okuba ennyumba eri empty, oli n'ajja n'amugamba njagala nnyumba olw'okuba asobodde osasula emyezi egisooka 3 n'amugamba yingira weebake. Kikakata ku landlord okusiivinga bagundi abantu be bagenda okukola ki okuwa ennyumba zaabwe okusulako. The other thing they do here is sebo olina okusasulayo omwezi mulamba gwe bayita ogwa poteya, gubeera ku akawunti yo. Ti bw'oba omaze ng'ova mu nnyumba landlord ajja n'agirambula, bw'aba waliwo ekyayonoonese akozesa ezo ssente ze wamuwa n'akifikisinga. Si kugenda mu nnyumba z'abantu n'ozireka ng'ozikoonyekoonye ne weetambulira n'ogenda. So eno baateekawo nnyo amateeka makakali ago okuwa ekifo ky'okusulamu. So anyway, kati etteeka eryo eri mu Uganda, I also agree with Isaiah. I mean, omuntu osobola kujja n'omala gasibawo ennyumba si yiyo, bakuwadde osulemu ogipangisizaamu kusulamu si yiyo. So tosobola kugaana kusasula ate n'otekako ekkufulu nannyiniyo n'afiirwa ssente. So yeah, but at the end of the day relationship matters. Oyinza n'okubeera ne landlord n'agamba weebakemu emyezi 6 nga tusasula, olwa relationship gy'obuildinze naye. So again kigenda ku relationship build, abantu abakola nga Isaiah bw'agambye. So yeah.
naye olaba Bobo ekintu ekyo ekiri eyo ewammwe eyo kyekyo Peterson kye yagambye ekya capitalism kyova olaba yeewamwe mu America abantu bangi tebalina we basula ku nguudo n'amamotoka kubanga amateeka agali eyo ate ganyigiriza bantu gafevaringa bannannyini mayumba mateeka mabi kyova olaba eyo mu America muyina Uganda ne Kenya combined nga bonna bali ku nguudo. The population of East Africa mu America eri ku nguudo. It's very absurd.
Anti wabeerawo reason lwaki babeera ku nguudo also. Of course, twekamu issue ya illegal immigration, but as long as oyina ebikwogerako really, there's not kizibu okukuma ennyumba bw'oba oyina ebikwogerako naye oba tolina bikwogerako ne landlord naye aba yeekanga ayinza okuyingiza ba drug dealer ku neighborhood ayinza amasasi ne gavugira awo. So yes, kiba protectinga naye ate kiteekamu ne ba citizens okubeera responsible citizens okumanya nti buli action gy'okola
advantages ntono Bob, advantages ntono, disadvantages nnyingi. Mulimba Bob, mulimba Abamerika babonaabona nnyo mulimba.
Aha. tugende kukiddako. Ebya Bobi ne Mpuuga tunabyogerako next week. Peterson, there's the issue of having children. The issue of having children, it's been said, or it's been argued by especially this new generation, that you cannot have a child, are very expensive. Some have even gone as far as saying, if you don't have the means to feed and clothe yourself, later on take a child to school, you should give up the business of having children. What are your thoughts? Is money the only factor or the main factor when we're talking about having children? What do you think, Ped?
I think this is even somehow related to the issue that we have just finished. Me, I'm going to relate this to capitalism. You see, the capitalism has put us in a prison to think that way, like how we think right now. The things to do with the family planning, the things to do with and now even if I'm to draw back, like first of all, where did we come from to reach here? Before, there's nothing that was heard of like family planning that you can control birth. I'm talking about family planning of birth control. I think that maybe that brings that distinguishes it, because you can plan from your family. You can have now a guy like Salim Saleh can have 1,000 kids because he can afford, but now here birth control because of resources. Now, capitalism teaches us one bad thing, which is that we don't have enough resources on this earth, and which is so wrong. That is not true. For us, we believe, and actually even reality shows that we have plenty. Even if you don't go to the Isaiahs about creation, God who provides, this earth shows you that we have plenty. We have more than enough. But because human beings, you are selfish beings, that plenty, you think that if there are so many, it will become little. That's why we want to minimize on the people who share on those resources. And that's where capitalism comes in with that thing. Yes, the resources are there, but these resources are scarce. In economics, it rotates around that theory of scarcity of resources. So the resources are scarce. Now, for you to utilize these scarce resources, you need to check your population. First of all, the national population, then it goes even to the family population. We're going into census. And one of the reasons, of course, for census is you want to know how many people. You want to know how many people you have. Now, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, China entered into the same problem where they wanted to control their population, because China's population was growing so fast, and they thought that for it to grow economically, then you need to control your population. So they came up with a one-child policy that each Chinese family, you're supposed to have one child, and not just only one child, but a boy. So in fact, women were forced to abort, and actually they are forced to abort girls. But right now, 40 years down the road, now the economy is now having one problem. The workforce has aged, and they don't have the population. Hello?
They are stuck.
The population now, they have developed. They have the families, but the workforce has aged. Because you see, population can grow, but it can grow it grows in a reducing. A population can grow, but at a reducing rate. For example, my father has 4 children, but now me, instead of having 4, because if I have 4, it means I've matched the population growth. I have 2, so that means yes, you've grown, you've added on, but then you've added on at a reducing rate. So China has the factories now. What it was chasing, that we need to have factories, we need to have infrastructure. Yes, you have the infrastructure, but you don't now have the population to run your infrastructure and the factories that you've set up. So now they are now going back to encourage people to produce. But remember, because of the mindset having changed their mind, the mindset changed previously. Also now the children they are produced, now they cannot go back to produce so many children. Countries like Japan, I'm told even their kindergarten is closed. You looked at Italy at the time of COVID, where the population is aging, even in the whole entire Europe. I think they're having the same problem. France, Italy, they are calling the blacks. The blacks are now almost taking over their population. So really, all the things that we are talking about of that children rated with money, it comes from that thing of saying resources are not enough, so we need to be few to enjoy these resources, because if we are many, the resources will not be enough for us. We are just selfish and greedy people. That's what I can say.
Okay, thanks, Ped. Isaiah,
Wanyisewo.
omuntu okuzaala yeetaaga ssente zokka, oba kale ssente ebimu ku kyali soose okulowoozaako ku bintu byonna.
Nedda, omuntu okuzaala yandisoose kulowooza ku busobozi bwe okubeera omuzadde. Kakati ssente kitundu, naye ate kitundu kitono nnyo ku kubeera omuzadde. Kubanga abaana beetaaga ki? Okuggyako bino bye mubateekako. Omwana yeetaaga kufuka ku buliri ne mubuggyayo ne mubwanika. Ekyo kitegerekese bulungi? Teyeetaaga pampa, bokisi ya pampa ya $10,000. Tabyetaaga. Omwana yeetaaga obuugi bw'ofumbisizza omulawo. Teyeetaaga mikebe gya Cerelac nga buli gumu gwa $5,000. Kakati someone is determining biki omwana wo byalya era byayambala byakola ki. Kakati eventually ng'okuzaala omwana kyetaagisa ssente, kubanga waliwo omuntu aseetinze agende. Waliwo omuntu agiseetinze. So ebikulu ne tubivaako ne tugenda ku bintu ebinafu. So ndowooza bulete okuddamu ekibuuzo kyo, essente kintu kinafu okuzaala oba obutazaala, kubanga sirina ssente sijja kuzaala. Kakati wano waliwo etteeka nti buli mwana ateekwa okugenda mu ssomero. Naye leka tubuuze ekibuuzo. Abaana abali mu masomero basoma. Mubalabanga abasoma. Be tusasulira miliyoni basoma mu kindagate. Ne bazannya. Kati abazadde basasula emiliyoni 2 ez'abaana okugenda okuzannya n'okwebaka mu ddeeka. Emiliyoni 2 kindagate. Kakati eventually oli n'agamba onoozaala otya omwana nga tolina miliyoni 2 za kindagate, n'olwekyo tozaala. So kakati ebintu ebyo bw'oba tolina ssente tozaala bifaanagana nga bw'oba tolina ssente tokwana. Statement eyo bw'oba tolina ssente tokwana bagamba bagenda kugula bamalaaya. Tebagamba gwe. Tebagamba gwe anoonya omukazi ow'okukosa, bagamba bagenda kugula bamalaaya. Nti bw'oba tolina ssente bamalaaya baakugula. Bebagamba naye kati ate naawe n'ogamba atalina ssente tafumita lindaazi, anti era oliwulira lindaazi liri ku katale. Kakati n'abaana bwe batyo bwe bali. Bw'oba tolina ssente tozaala. Omwana ogenda kuzaala kiki ekyo? Kyamaguzi kiki ekyo? So ndowooza nti ekintu kye bayita obuzadde, essente zirina ekitundu kyazo. Naye olw'okuba nga olina ssente tekikufuula muzadde mulungi. Nedda, essente zireeta byakulya. Kankubuulire, bw'oba toli muzadde mugezi ne bw'oba olina ssente, omwana we asobola okufiira mu ddwaliro ekyamu ery'ebbeeyi mu mikono gy'omusawo omukyamu. Naye ng'ekissa omwana wo si lwakuba tolina ssente, ssente obadde ozirina, naye bwe tolina magezi ga kizadde, tomanyi na kyakkola ng'omuzadde tokimanyi, naye ssente z'ozirina. Mwali mukyegendeza muno ba corporate parent, they are the most vulnerable parents ate nga balina ssente. Osanga anti obasanga nga babuuza omusawo, what can we do? Junior doesn't want to eat. Nga babuuza musawo. Omusawo n'agamba I have checked he's okay. Emboozi eyo mugiwulira bw'etambula. So doctor, what do you advise? Maybe kati doctor naye, anti Dr. Enoka Muyanja, Bob. I will prescribe for you some appetizers. Kati bana abazadde bamanyi ekyokukola. Tebamanyi, bali mu kubuuza musawo omwana atayagala kulya tumukola tutya. Omusawo abagambye mukebedde omubiri gwonna gwandibadde tegugaana kulya. Ne babuuza kati tukoze tutya. Abo bazadde abo beetegefu abo, naye ssente bazirina. So really tulekeraawo ebintu bino eby'ekisiru ebyokulowooza nti ssente ze solution ya buli kintu. Olaba bannange, olaba nze omwava atalina ssente mbeera buli kaseera mbalabula ku ssente. Ndowooza ekinjogeza butaba nazo oba yinza okuba nga ekinjogeza butaba nazo. Ndowooza bwe naabeera nazo nga nange nsiriwalanga mmwe nga ntandika okulowoleza ddala nti ssente zikwegamba zisolovinga buli kintu. Bw'oba olina ssente ekuseguliza, ssente bwe bulamu, era ssente ekufuula omuzadde, ssente ekufuula omukazi omufumbo omulungi, era n'ekufuula n'omusajja ssemaka omulungi kasitoba nga olina ssente. Buno obusiru buvaawa?
Capitalism.
Neyanza moderator.
Tuanze sebo. Petro weda atako microphone yena.
Nzizeye walekana.
Ola ziwa. Kale Bob. Obuzadde magezi. Kyentegedde mu submission ya Isaiah. Obuzadde kubeera n'amagezi. Kakati amagezi agakozesa resources z'olina. ng'obudde nga ssente n'ebirala si kyo.
Yeah, I think
Ate kati mweyo gye muli wammwe Bobi, ate ekyokuzaala is even worse than ffenna tukyazaalazaalako eno ewaffe naye eyo gye muli tebuzaalako ddala kiki?
anti omwana tali chipu kubanga eno bagamba bw'oba ozadde omwana olina okumuwa bye yeetaaga byonna akulenga into a responsible citizen nga tomukugulidde ebintu kyova olaba abantu abatasobola kulabirira abaana gavumenti eba bajjako nebatwala gye basobola obbalabirira kubanga okuzaala
anti Bobo kati namufuula mu America bwentu a responsible citizen ebyo ebyana ebimerika ebisinga obutaba kagenda mu maaso sebo Bobo nsonyiwa.
Genda mu maaso Bobi.
Yes,
Network yatebuze.
please, let me just give me a second. Yeah, so mbadde kyagamba waliwo nabadambuza mumpulira tojja kubeera nga Maulana ozaale odduke oleme kulabirira. You must be a pro. Era wano waliwo kituyita child support naye mba mwawukanye omwana gwe wazaala tosula busuuzi spaamu eyo nenfuukamu mwana n'ogenda n'ogamba buli mwana ne riziki ye baana bali kuleezaabwe biki. So here bw'ogamba nti ngenda kuzaala, you must be willing okuteekamu obudde okuwa abaana abo obudde okuba supportinga n'okuba providinga kubanga they are the reason, you are the reason they are there. Go abazaala n'obateeka mu nsi. So you need to do your part, at least play your part until they are 18 and they are able to provide for themselves. That is as simple as that. Bw'oba oli ready kuzaala, you must be ready to provide time, resources, n'obusera oba obugi Isaiah bw'abadde ayogerako era tofuna bwa bwereere. Era ojja kwetaagisaayo 1000 oba 500 ogenda oguleyo haafu ya kawunga bakolemu obugi. So bw'obanga tosobola na kuyingiza 500 ebyo omwana kumugulira bugi kate oba ozaala waaki. There must be some minimum provision. Ne bwe kaba kawunga ne bwe biba bijanjaalo togenda ate gavumenti yeba ebikuwa. So it is that simple. Yeah.
Isaiah, ultimately igwera mu kasente se Bobi kyagamba.
Anti kakati moderator Bobi kyateekwa okukkiriziganya nange oba okwawukana nange. Kwe abaana b'ennaku zino banywa obuugi bwe mufumbye mu seffuliya.
Banywa seriraka, banywa
Kakati omulamu ogugamba nti bw'oba toyina ssente tegugamba bino. Tegugamba bino ebyange eby'obuugi bye mbagamba eby'ekyalo eby'ekinaku. Gugamba seriraka, gugamba nti tojjanjabira mwana walala wonna. Mujjanjabire kwayo ekike. Kati ekyo kibagamba. Kakati bali Abamerika bakugambye nti omwana batosobola mulabira, ffe tugenda kumuwa basobola okumulabirira. Naye ddala omwana nnemye okulabirira on my standards oba nnemye okulabirira on the standards that you have set. Waliwo omuntu ategera kye ŋŋamba?
Nkutegedde.
Kubanga ewaaba Bob omwana tomulabirira nga bw'osobola. Omulabirira ng'omwana bwe twagamba bw'ateekwa okulabirirwa. Kati eyo problem nti omwana ateekwa kusomera mu Nnamagunga. Ffe abasomeseza ennansano, that is child abuse, n'aga amasomero geetaaga kuggala era ne bagaggala. Kakati bannaaye ekyo kye twogerako ekyo. Naye bw'ŋŋamba n'olwo 1000 lw'obuugi oteekwa oddufuna. Anagembwa waliwo omusajja yazadde abaana n'abulwa nusu 1000 eziwa abaana be obuugi. Essente kintu kitono nnyo, twogere ku bintu ebizibu. Okulabirira omwana financially kintu kitono nnyo, wabula mwakizimbya ne mukifuula ensonga naye nga kintu kitono nnyo. Omwana alya mmere yenkana ki? Kintu kitono nnyo ekyo bannange. Naye tuyinza okusinziira ku ekyo ekintu ekitono okuzaala omwana. Tetusobola. We shouldn't. Tulina kusinziira ku kintu ekinene. Osobola okubeera omuzadde w'omwana, okukola omwana osobola, naye okubeera omuzadde w'omwana osobola. Ebimodereta ndowooza nti bye bintu ebikulu ebyo bye tuteekwa okutunuulira. Alesebo.
Kugira musobola okubeerawo n'olabira abaana.
Kati
Yes, Ped.
Isaiah has discussed it, but I think your question was mainly on people refusing to produce.
The reason they give is money. I don't have money. I don't have money.
You produce 2 children and you say, this is what I will afford.
Ebitugambo ebyanti lwaki?
Naye kakati mu ikonomi ey'abakazi abakola n'abasajja nga bakola, lwaki tozaala baana?
Anti kati olaba Isaiah, like from what you have said, kati olaba, right now the bar is high. The guys have raised the standard. Waliwo ka video kaali kagundi ka social. Kati Isaiah mwete mwazi na social. But fe social, ng'osasula mutwalo. Mwabe bugema. There's no social. But anyway.
Sebo ekyambogo college social yaliyo sebo.
But do you know there's a social of Chuburi? Did you guys see that video? Where kids brought cars over, they got them from their parents, Range Rovers. Did you see that video? Now, a video like that, it means now that is the standard. If you want your child to go for social, that means that you have to make sure that you get him a car. Now, for you to make sure that your child enjoys that level of luxury and a good life, that means you have to reduce on the number of children that you're going to produce. You'd rather have one.
But
where
the question, paid question. Is it parenting okuwa omwana Range Rover okugenda ku party nayo?
And they will say that the modern parenting, because you see everything that was...
Kati nze ye point yange, kati a point yange mumaze ogikola. Kati obona obubonero obulaga nti abaana bali mu mikono emikyamu egy'abazadde. Owootya omwana pocket money wakakadde. Owootya omwana Range Rover, Benz, mbw agenze ku party. Omwana wa senior 6, senior 4.
All our standard D. Now, right now, actually, our biggest problem is the standard. The bar has been raised too high.
Anti tu challenging a standard eyo paid, standard eyo dala standard y'abagezi y'abasiru. Kubanga mwe muyinza okwekunganya abasiru nga 10 ne mukola standard yammwe y'abasiru. Kati buli muntu n'atandika okulwana ogituukako. Kyengezako okugamba bazadde bannange wano. Muleme kulwanira standard of stupidity zemu settings. Kati for instance, twali twogera no ku school fees petition ojjukira. Amasomero gaga tusasule miliyoni 4 ku high school fees. Kakati tulinaga nti standard. Kati standard kyeki? Modernity kyeki? Genda maaso sebo.
And if you look at our demographics, the issue Jet is bringing up is a very, very serious issue. Our biggest population is 40 years and below. That we are in the age of producing and parenting. The biggest population is in that category. So it's a very, very big problem that we are facing and having. But Isaiah also another thing. In how do you stand up and be like, I'm going to oppose the system? Yes, I am seeing that kids are going with cars for Soch, kids are being given iPhone 5 of 6 million. Me, I will not give mine. I will not. My son has to go for Soch when he's just without a car. How do you withstand the pressure?
That is what makes you a parent. That is what makes you a parent. What makes you a parent is to start as early as possible kwogera n'omwana wo nti bino ne bino ne bino ne bino ne bino tebabikola ku eno stage n'eno n'eno n'eno. Bw'oba oli wange wano tojja kubikola. Ojja kugenda eyo ogenda kusanga abaana ababirina, but that is the decision of their parents. Kati gw'owo n'oyogera naye n'omutegeka. Bw'avaamu omwana n'akuwuliriza with efforts gy'otaddemu, amiina. Bw'agenda ne yeegomba ng'oyo akuvudde mu ngalo agenze. Naye toteekwa, you must know, kubanga abazadde bangi beetadde under pressure paid. Kati nze njagala Divine abeere nga mutabani wa Bob ali mu America. Bob ayina engeri gy'akuŋŋaanyaamu emitwalo 38 ng'agikuŋŋaanyiza mu $100. Bob agamba omwana kamusindikira nusu 2. Owulira Bob bw'ayogera? Nusu bimeka? 2. Kakati nze kakati oyo mwana wa Bob mukwano gwa Divine. Era ye bw'aba asaba taata we ssente avuga dadi mpaayo nusu 5. Give me just $50. Naye omanyi $50 kye zigenda okola ku ssomero eri Uganda.
Inflation.
Weebale nnyo. Kakati ate Isaiah ayagala ate Divine avuganye ne mutabani wa Bob. Kati nze ne Bob twenkana. Kati omwana wo mugambe nga bukyali nti kino kyensobola dda kino kyenjagala muwe n'ensonga. Batandike nga bakyali bato.
Isaiah, you brought I wanted you to, because the example that you brought is when you're talking about that you don't have the capacity. Now, use an example, Bob and Jethero. Whereas Bob can send nusu 2, Jethero can also send 1 million. But how does Jethero restrain himself? Whereas Bob is buying for his son a car, Jethero can afford, but then he says, no.
Yes, I understand now. This is why I'm here, reminding Bob and Jethero that you have hidden your stupidity behind money. And you are justifying your foolishness using money and capacity. Kyovula wanatandise mbagamba nti okuba ne ssente tekikufuula muzadde. Abazadde Bob ne Jethero mutusonye okubakozesa ng'abagagga. Abazadde abagagga nga Bob ne Jethero bateekwa okwawula obugagga bwabwe n'okubeera omuzadde. It is what we're trying to tell people. Essente zo z'olina zanjawulo nnyo naawe okubeera omuzadde w'omwana wo. Toyinza kumiisinga kugenda kukebera bibuuzo bye ku ssomero. No compensating your absence with sending him or her 1M. Waliwo omuntu ategeera kyengeza okugamba? Nti omwana abadde ayagala obeerewo gw'omuzadde we. Nonga sibaddeewo, but I'm going to make you happy. N'omusindikira 1M. Genda weeyagale, gula kantiini yonna. Kati awo sente weeziri kale, naye toli muzadde wa mwana. Jethero odi eri yajja.
Bagimpeereza ejjo.
Ndowooza ne bana abakulu agyagala tujja gimuweereza. Ndowooza nti twetaaga okuba tudiscussing parenting. Kubanga Peterson ky'obuuza kibuuzo kikulu nnyo. You cannot do things just because you can. See, not everything you can afford that you should have. Not for yourself, not even for your child. omwana n'akeera ng'akaaba daddi njagala motoka nuga naye kiki ekimmenya nsobola okugula emmotoka 100 kangulira omwana wange emmotoka n'ogenda n'ogigula temudisikasinga kudisikasinga emmotoka kyeki emmotoka ekola ki lwaki ogyetaaga egenda kwongerako etya ekutoolako etya ebyo byonna tobyogedde gwe kikulu omwana wange saagala kulumya omwana wange saagala mulumya kati omanyi we tuli gwe musajja gwe. Do you know where we are? We are in the world. Abantu balumwa. Abantu bateeka okutegeera nti abantu balumwa. Mwana wange sijja mulumya. Omanyi nze nabonaabona nnyo. Kati omwana wange tajja kubonaabona nga bwe nabonaabona. Ekikufudde omugezi n'okola ne ssente zino z'olina. Kubanga wabonaabona nnyo. Kati omwana wo kimumye ogamba mbu ye tabonaabona nga gwe bwe wabonaabona. Kakati lwaki olowooza nti omwana wo anaasobola okukuuma ssente zo nga tayise mu prosesi y'emu gwe gye wayitamu. Ffe twatambuzanga bigere. Omwana nga tayinza kutambuza bigere. Not even in the compound. Compound erimu pavers. Mu compound erimu pavers. Abaana bamwe babeera bambadde engatto. Moderator, mubeere bulungi.
Mubeere bulungi neza nnyo. Kama bankulu mutujja kuddamu ku Monday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.